What's up, guys, and welcome back to Bass Fishing Tips. And in today's video, we're going to be going over the top 5 baits for the month of June. Now, my video is probably going to be a little bit different than other videos that you'll see out on the YouTubes and the internet right now talking about the top baits for the month of June, because my video is really going to focus on shallow water fishing. Not everybody has access to a boat. Not everybody has access to all the electronics that everybody has nowadays, you know, $25,000, $35,000, $45,000 worth of electronics that a lot of these people put on their boats, and even some people put on their kayaks, and have the ability to actually go offshore and go find those deep water summertime fish, those schools of fish that we all love to fish. I mean, I love to fish for them. It's one of the funnest things that you'll ever do, but not everybody has access to that. And so I want to make sure that the bank bangers and the people that are over here fishing the bank or fishing from a kayak or fishing out of a boat that doesn't have a bunch of electronics on it have the ability to still be able to go and catch fish in the month of June and have a ton of fun. And that's what I like to do. I love the offshore thing. I really do love finding a school of fish on a hump or a point or a ledge somewhere in deep cranking form and throwing a big worm and catching those fish. It is so much fun when you get a school fired up. But the reality of the situation is there is a population of bass that live up shallow all year long. These residential fish that you can go and catch, and if you know where to look and what to throw, you can stay shallow pretty much all year long until we get back down into the fall and the winter, and you can catch fish. And so that's what this list is going to be focused on today, is just helping you guys that may not have access to get off the bank, or have access that once you're off the bank to actually use a bunch of electronics to find fish, to be able to find fish, catch fish, and have a ton of fun. Also, we're going to be doing a giveaway in this video, so make sure you watch the entire video to figure out how to enter the giveaway. And without any further ado, let's get into today's video by talking about the bait that is probably my favorite, and I just want to start with this one because it's my favorite, and that is the hollow body frog. Now, the hollow body frog is a very, very interesting topwater. And the reason that I say that it is, a lot of people think hollow body frog and they immediately think matted vegetation, lily pads, grass, any sort of aquatic vegetation, and that's the only place that you fish a hollow body frog. Now, the thing about it is yes, that is one location to fish a hollow body frog, and probably one of the more areas that it's most effective. But for where I'm at in the country, and for a lot of the country, the time to actually do that is very, very narrow. You know, it's a very small part of the year that we actually get to go fish grass and fish a frog on grass to get bass to bite. The time period in which we can open water frog fish is much bigger, and that's what I want to talk about today, is open water frog fishing. I love to fish a frog in open water. It is, to me, one of the deadliest topwater tools that you'll throw in the summer, or really any time of the year, in that open water, because it's something that not a lot of people do. And the reason that they don't do it is twofold. Number one, they isolate their time in using a frog to grass fishing, and number two, they don't know how to walk the frog. And so the number one piece of advice that I can give you is learn how to walk the frog. And what I mean by that is like walking the dog with a topwater, but you do it with a frog. Now, there's no secret to doing it other than just getting out there and practicing it. But once you've got that walking the frog down, you can turn this thing into an absolute fish killer this time of year, because a lot of bass, like I said, they're going to stay up shallow. One thing that we have to start happening this time of year is we start to have the bluegill spawn, and those bluegills spawning up shallow will attract a bunch of bass, because those bass just see it as an opportunity to eat and eat and eat and eat, and a bluegill is one of their favorite things to eat. Another thing that we've got going on is in some states you have a bunch of different shad spawns that happen. Here in Tennessee, you have the alewife spawn that starts earlier in the year. That's going to be like April or, you know, beginning of May. As May starts to wane and June starts to start, we start seeing more of the threadfin spawn. And then as June starts to kind of wane and we start to go into July, you guys will start seeing the gizzard shad spawn. And so all throughout the month of June, there are opportunities for bass to be shallow and to eat things, whether they be shad or bluegills, or in some cases mayflies that attract bluegills and those different things. And a frog is one of the best tools to go and throw to get those bass to bite. Now, what's really cool about the frog is it's very, very subtle. I call it kind of a finesse topwater or a finesse power fishing technique. And the reason that I say that is when you look at the frog, There's no treble hooks hanging off of it. There's no rattles inside of it. It is just a very subtle, very just nuanced and finesse kind of topwater approach. It doesn't make a bunch of noise. It doesn't displace a bunch of water. And I think a lot of the times when you're dealing with fish shallow, especially pond anglers, bank anglers, fish that are getting a bunch of pressure, when you can be really, really quiet, very, very subtle like that, you'll get those fish to bite, and that's what a frog does a really good job of. I focus on two main colors this time of year with a third one thrown in that I'll talk about, but a white and a black. If I'm fishing around shad, I'm going to throw a white. If I'm fishing around bluegill, I'm going to throw a black. And then sometimes I'll throw like more of a natural kind of like frog pattern. I mean, it's, you know, it's got that white belly, but you can see that orange throat on there. And a lot of people think, well, only the belly matters. But when you learn to, you know, walk that frog, a lot of the times that frog is going to roll quite a bit when you walk it. And so that green side on there is going to flash. And sometimes I've noticed, especially when bass are really focused in on bluegills and or they're focused in on bluegills that are eating mayflies, that more kind of white, green, or contrasting color can seem to get a few more bites. So keep a white, a black, and then like a natural frog in your box, and you should have every tool that you need to go out and fish a frog effectively and catch bass in the month of June. But that is the first bait, my absolute favorite. If I could fish this 365 days a year, I absolutely would. The next one is going to be a bait that made its appearance last month, but like I often say, a lot of the baits that I covered in the month of May will work in the month of June, depending on the scenarios that you're in, and this is definitely one of them, and that is going to be a stick bait or a Cinco or whatever you want to call it. My favorite obviously is the Berkley Maxent General. This is a bait I've got a ton of confidence in to take literally anywhere in the country. I'm actually packing to go to Michigan next week, and so I'm going to spend a week in Michigan in the month of June, and a lot of the baits that I'm talking about are going with me up there because they're as effective there as they are here down in the south. Now, when it comes to stick baits this time of year, I make a little bit of an adjustment. Now, one of my favorite colors, I talk about it all the time, is baby bass, and it is an awesome color. But what I've noticed this time of year is that I start fishing a lot more black and blues and just solid blacks, more solid based colors. So as you guys can see here, this is a color that I love. This is black with chartreuse tail. Really good contrasting bait, and then this is just a black and blue with a blue tail. So anything with a dark base, and I think a lot of that has to do with this time of year, those residential fish that do live up shallow, they're gonna live tucked away, whether it be tucked away up under some vegetation, tucked up under a shade line from a tree, up under a dock. They go and they seek shade. Now, I think they seek shade not so much because they can't see well. I don't think that has really anything to do with it. It might not, I'm not sure. But I think more than anything is they use it as an ambush point. You know, those docks, those overhangs, those lily pads, they create a shadow. And my understanding is, and from some of the science that I've read, is a bluegill's eyes actually don't function as well as a bass does. And so a bass can be sitting inside of a shade line and the bluegill will be outside of the shade line, and the bluegill will actually never see the bass. And so the bass uses that and knows that instinctually and uses that to its advantage and will use that as an ambush point to reach out and grab them. And so when you throw something like your stick bait in there, wacky rig stick bait or even a Texas rig stick bait into that area, skip it into that area, you're just presenting a bass that's already in that mood to eat, in that mode of hunting and ambushing something really, really easy, something that's gonna flutter down really subtly and kind of hang in their face and get them to bite. And that's why I love a wacky rig stick bait this time of year, especially in those darker colors. Does a really good job of contrasting that kind of dark area that a lot of those fish are gonna be living in and focusing on living in this time of year. Now the next one is going to be one that, again, it's a bait that I absolutely love. I love fishing. That's the problem with these lists is like I love every single thing that I'm going to talk about here because I just love to catch fish and I love whatever tool's working, that's the tool I'm going to use. But the next one is going to be one that we all love, and that's going to be something like a fluke or any fluke style bait. This is Berkley Power Bait Jerk Shad. But this is one deadly tool for this time of year, especially if you're living on a lake with a bunch of shad. The reason that I say that is because number one, like I said, you're gonna have lakes that have those shad spawns. And as we go into late June, we are gonna start seeing that gizzard shad spawn start to kind of pop off. And as that happens, those bass get really, really focused in on bait fish. And one of the best ways to imitate bait fish without being super intrusive, again, you'll notice how I'm staying kind of subtle this time of year. Subtle with the frog, subtle with the stick bait, subtle with the jerk shad or the stick bait, soft jerk bait, whatever you want to call it. It's just subtle, non-intrusive presentations, and that is a bait that absolutely kills this time of year. Again, focusing on a lot of those areas that we focus on with the stick bait. Shaded areas, anywhere that there's overhangs, docks, floating docks, whatever it is, skipping that bait up under there, working that bait out, that is going to get those bass to react to this thing and get them to bite it. This is also a tool this time of year that I start taking up into the creeks and the rivers. And if a lot of you guys are like me, you go start looking for that moving water this time of year, because a lot of the times that moving water is usually going to be spring or groundwater. They're going to be the tributaries that dump into the lakes or the ponds or whatever we happen to be fishing. It feeds those bodies of water, and that water is going to be a heck of a lot cooler than the main lake. And so those fish up there are going to be a lot more active. They may even be earlier in their spawning process. There might not even be shad spawns or bluegill spawns up there yet. And a lot of the times you can throw things like the jerk shad and you can get them to bite. So absolutely love this bait, whether it be in the lakes in that calmer water or it be up in that moving water. It's a bait that you can get big bass to absolutely smash this time of year. And this actually is a new color that I'm very, very interested to try. I wanted to share it with you guys. This one is called Chrome Flash. Just crazy looking color, but I think in some clear water, when you got a bunch of bass maybe competing with each other, whether you're on a herring lake or a lake with a bunch of shad in it, that's going to do a really good job of kind of almost masking itself as to what it is, while also doing a really good job of looking like a shad. And I think bass will smash that. I just want to share that with you. Got like 7 packs of them, so they better work, because if they don't, I'm gonna be mad because we got 7 packs of them. But I don't know, maybe we'll give one away to you guys. All right, so keep moving down the list here. Now we're going to start getting into some things a little bit bigger, a little bit more, let's say, intrusive, but still staying on that kind of subtle side of things. And this is a bait that I've already been catching fish on and will continue to catch fish on all throughout the month of June and even as we go later into the year. And that is going to be a big straight tail worm. Now, as you guys can see here, I've only got 2 in this pack. That's because I've been using the crap out of these things already. I've got like several more on order just because it is such an awesome presentation. This in particular worm is one that I love. It's a Magnum hitworm. So Magnum hitworm, it's 7 inches long. It's got that straight tail on the back. And as you guys can see, not a ton going on with that worm as far as like, there's no ribbon tail, there's no flange, there's nothing that really displaces water. But this time of year, I have noticed, especially when you're beating the banks, that a lot of those fish that live up shallow, like really shallow, up under the trees, up under those boat docks and stuff like that, they're going to smash one of those lures we have already talked about. But as the day starts to wane, and maybe we've gone through an area already, or you're fishing on the bank, you've already gone through an area, and it seems that you've caught all those fish, move slightly offshore. And when I say slightly offshore, I'm talking the ends of laydowns, the ends of those docks that we were fishing during the day. Maybe right outside a grass line where you were fishing a frog in the morning, and you pick up the worm, and it's going to be a great way to get a big bite. Now, there's 2 ways that I rig this worm that have seemed to be the most effective for me. Number 1 is going to be a Nico rig. So it's going to be essentially a wacky rig with a small nail weight in the end. We're going to do a video about that soon. And then the second way is just a simple Texas rig using like a 3/16 ounce to 3 ounce weight, or 3/16 ounce to 3/8 ounce weight, not 3 ounce. 3 ounces is huge. Just Texas rigging this worm, dragging it around, whether it be, like I said, the ends of those laydowns, the end of those docks, just right outside of those areas that you were catching fish on earlier in the morning or earlier in the day, or where you've just got bites before, can be a great tool for catching some really big bass. And I'll tell you another thing super sneaky about this bait is flipping and pitching this thing. So if you've gone through an area flipping and pitching a creature bait like we talked about last month, again, a bait that can carry over into this month, pick up the worm and go back through that area, and you'll be amazed how many bass you can pick up flipping a big 7, 8, 10-inch worm. And what's really crazy is that a lot of the times, you think 7, 8, or 10-inch worm, you think there's no way that a little 12 or 13 or 14-inch bass can get that into their mouth. Some of the smallest bass that I've ever caught are on the biggest of worms. You're amazed. I'm amazed how they can just hit a 8-inch worm and get that thing completely into their mouth, and they will absolutely do that. And again, Magnum hit worm is one of my favorite baits to throw this time of year. And as you guys can see, keeping with those dark colors. This is a green pumpkin. There's another one called plum that I really, really like. I'll make sure to link everything down in the description with the colors that I like, as well as in the pinned comments, so you guys can go check it out. You don't gotta write anything down or take notes, but just one of my favorite tools for getting a really, really big bite this time of year. All right, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're on to the 5th bait. Now this 5th bait is gonna be fun because it's kind of like a category of baits, and I want to discuss 2 extreme ends of the category. But before we do that, like I said, I want to give some stuff away to you guys. And so if you want to enter to win one of each of the baits that I've talked about in today's video, including this 5th one that we're about to talk about, make sure that you like this video, you hit that subscribe button, you leave a comment down below of your favorite bait to throw, and if you're brand new to bass fishing, leave the bait that you're looking most forward to learning. Maybe we can do a video about it in the future, and then if you'll share this video with somebody, it'll really, really help to grow the channel. All right, so on to the 5th bait, and that is going to be a top water walking bait. Now, like I said, this is more of like a category because we're gonna talk about like 2 extreme ends of the spectrum here. And what I mean by that is simply size. Giant Magnum topwaters and small little finesse topwaters. Now, what's really crazy is that this time of year, depending on the types of bodies of water that you're fishing on, one of these is going to work better than the other. So around me, I have some lakes. Like I said, they have gizzard shad spawns. Those are really big bait fish. They mimic this, or this mimics them really, really well. I've also got lakes that have blueback herring in them. It's a type of bait fish. And again, this does a really good job of mimicking them, and it gets those bass that are feeding on those blueback herring to react to it. Whereas other lakes around me have smaller little glass minnows. They've got small threadfin shad, alewife shad, those types of things. Shad that aren't super big, and that's when I'm gonna pick up my little finesse topwater. Now, I fish these very similarly in very similar areas. What I'm looking for this time of year when I'm throwing my topwater is hard surfaces. And the reason that I look for hard surfaces is, number one, that's where shad like to spawn. It's where bluegill like to spawn. Oftentimes there's gonna be other prey items there like crawdads and other things. Mayflies will come out of there. And so there's bass that orient themselves to hard cover because that's where a lot of food is at. But I like to look for hard cover, whether it be seawalls, riprap. You bank anglers are gonna love that because there's a lot of riprap around boat docks and things like that, areas where you fish. I look for like long laydowns, things that bass can orient themselves to ambush things. And both of these topwaters, I'm gonna work them really, really fast. And so like whether it be your big one, just really chug that thing really hard, just check, 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 check. Really just moving this bait really quickly because all I'm looking for is a reaction bite. A lot of the times that's exactly what's going to happen when you toss these baits around. These bass are going to blow up on them, and they're going to blow up on them really hard and really, really fast because they are focused in on shad. The shad are moving really, really fast, and the bass are just simply reacting to them and taking the opportunity to try to kill them. And so whether it be the small little topwater or the big one, working them fast, moving them fast, working them hard, getting those bass to react. And what's really, really cool is if they blow up on this thing and they miss it, you have so many other tools that we've already talked about in this video to be able to pick up and to use as a follow-up bait. And so what a follow-up bait is a bait that, like, once you get a blow up on something or a bass takes a swipe at something and it misses and you don't hook them, you can either pick up your jerk shad or your little soft jerk bait or your stick bait, and you can toss it back in there, and oftentimes those bass will be focusing in that area where they tried to eat your topwater, and they will come back and they'll eat one of those smaller, more finesse presentations. And so just remember that when you're fishing your big topwaters this time of year, or even your little finesse topwaters, and you have bass that rush out, that blow up on them and that miss them, make sure that follow up with one of those baits. But yeah, I love fishing the topwater this time of year. It kind of goes against all of these more finesse things that we talked about, you know, less intrusive. This is actually really intrusive, and it's kind of one of those things that I've noticed this time of year on really clear bodies of water, on ponds that get a lot of pressure, just anywhere that seems to be clear and pressured. There's something about throwing something really big and really aggressive, going counter to what everybody else is doing. You can get some big bass to react, big bass to bite stuff, and just have a ton of fun. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure and click this video that's popping up right here.